Good morning, YouTubers. T-Square here with T-Square Talk. Hope everybody's having a great day. I got a great video planned out for you guys today. Today, I want to answer a question slash comment that came up earlier. I looked for the comment so I could read it exactly, but I couldn't find the comment again. However, I thought it was a great video topic, and I don't know how the comment, you know how sometimes people write comments, and sometimes a comment can come out the wrong way. I mean, maybe I say I'm not interested in another type of metal, and someone could take that as a negative, like I'm against it. It's just I personally may not be interested in it. It's not meant to be ugly or anything. And this comment, I don't think it was meant to be ugly. I thought it was a great comment, but I didn't 100% know the person's point of view on it. Basically, the comment was, as for all of us that have been buying, at what number are we done buying? At what number do we start selling? And I think that's a very interesting comment, and I started writing a response to it, and the response just kept going and going and going and going. I said, I might as well just do a video on that. At what point do you stop buying silver? At what point do you essentially sell? I have my answer already, and I'm going to get into that in today's video. And if you enjoy the video, please help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. A lot of people watch the videos and they always forget to hit that thumbs up button. Leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. What number, is there a number that you'll sell or stop buying? And then we'll compare. I'll be able to read y'all's comments and kind of see who agrees with me and who has a number in mind. So before we get started, I always like to take a look at the prices and then get into it real quick. We're just going to go through them real quick tonight. Right now, as of right this minute, we have silver actually back down to 38.14. We did see it drop a little bit today, and then it started popping back up. As you can see, we did get down to 37.90 roughly, and then it started climbing back up again. Now, we're about $1 off of the recent high. However, I mean, anything can happen right now with upcoming possible rate cuts, with everything going on with the DXY, with everything going on, period. A lot can happen. I would not even dare to say right now I think there was a dip coming or I think there's a big jump coming, because there's a few different things at play that really make it possible to swing either way. And so we're going to see how this plays out over the upcoming weeks. I know I'm excited. I'm about ready to tell you at what point I stop buying, at what point I start selling. You're going to hear that in today's video. But as of right now, we're sitting at 38.18. Moving on real quick to gold. We got gold trading at $3,359, up just a little bit for today. We were actually only about, it says $17, but I thought it was more like 14, because I thought we were, I don't know, I guess it would be about $17 actually as I'm looking at it. Not a big jump, but a little bit of a climb today, whereas silver had a little bit of a pullback. So taking a quick look at the talk of the town, Bitcoin, I got to say, everybody I talk to is asking me about Bitcoin right now, my thoughts. Will I change my mind? What's my viewpoints? Should we be buying? Here's the thing. Bitcoin had a $5,000 correction today. It only shows on here 2,400, but that's based over the last 24 hours. I guess last night it must have tanked just before a little bit more, because we were up there for a little while. Taking a quick look at this, we got all the way up to 22.5 at its peak. Let's see here, 22.5 at its peak. So $122,500. That's pretty big drop when you really think about it, about a $5,000 drop. And yeah, even knowing that, we did have Bitcoin. If I can close this out, let's see here, close. Okay, here we go. We did have Bitcoin end up dropping. Amazon passed up Bitcoin again as Bitcoin fell a little bit. Silver fell a little bit. Alphabet ended up passing silver. So both Bitcoin and silver had dropped down a notch. There's really not much point in me telling you the gold position, because I can't picture anything passing up gold at $22.6 trillion. So Real quick, and then we're going to get into the topic. Got to take a look at the DXY. The DXY having a nice jump today, now over 98 as we're climbing back up. Now, usually when the DXY climbs up, that usually makes silver come down. On top of that, there's a lot of people out there that think we're pretty much at the high and want to sell their silver. I actually talked with someone today and picked up some, but I don't want to tell you too much about that story, because that was a super interesting story, the way that one played out. I've never seen that happen. That was the first time that I seen someone see if they could pay for their stuff at the store in silver. That was a mind blower, really, when I heard him say that. And I was just kind of standing there talking to the cashier, and the person had asked, and the person looked at me, and then the customer said, well, Governor Abbott signed it into law that it's money. And the cashier looked at me, because the cashier knew that I collect the stuff. And he said, no, I only take dollars. And I said, well, I'll cover it. I'll cover the bill for it. And he had a 1 ounce coin. So that was pretty cool. And then I ended up talking with him a little bit more after. And the story goes on, but I don't want to give away too much, because I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video. And the national debt, last but not least, at $37.1 trillion as it continues to climb. And with that being said, now let's talk about the numbers on where we sell. So the first thing I have to say before I get into this, none of this is financial advice, nor should it be considered as such. What I'm about ready to tell you guys is my opinion and my strategy, and it may not be the same strategy as everybody else. However, there is a number. And here's kind of how it goes. So is there a limit to how much money you want to put in your bank account? A lot of people need to think about that. If you put a bunch of money into your bank account, do you stop when you hit a certain number and just start spending every penny? Personally, me, I probably wouldn't. Therefore, because I look at silver and gold as a savings account, that I'm prepared to draw and sell some if I need to. I'll be honest, that person that I talked to today, when I took that coin from him, I told him, don't touch it from the top. Touch it from the sides. You know, because he goes, why? I said, because if you touch it on the head or the tail, then, or I shouldn't say that. Someone out there that's a collector just cringed. They're like, it's not called a heads and a tails. It's called a oddverse and a reverse, maybe. I can't remember the actual proper term, and if I said it wrong, someone can correct me. But I said, yeah, but he goes, why? And then I showed him a couple that I had on me, and I said, because then they're going to get dirty like this. See how these have been handled? And he goes, well, ain't that what we want? Is silver to be handled as money? And I was like, ouch, because he's right. We do want that. We want to see gold and silver as money. It should be treated as money. And so when he said that to me, I was like, darn, he ain't wrong there. But it's true. We do want it used as money. But unfortunately, people view it still kind of as a collectible. So when they see something that hasn't been touched, they tend to want it a little bit more. It gets you a little bit of a higher premium. But where I'm going with this, I kind of got off track a little bit, is I don't really care how big my savings account gets with silver. Yes, I said that, you know, maybe there was a time that I would sell when silver hit $50. Why? Because if I took the average on my stack at maybe $22, we climb up to 44, maybe 50, then I essentially could sell half of my entire stack and get all of my money that I put in back out of it. However, what am I doing? I'm taking fiat cash or paper money for something tangible that will always have value. And one of my biggest worries has always been, can you imagine the guy that all of a sudden realizes, hey, I just hit $1 million and in silver, and now I'm going to sell it so I can have $1 million in cash, and then the next day or the next week they devalue it again in some major hit, not some slow devaluation like we see on a regular basis, but one big blow all at once, right after the person sells and converts. That has always been a worry for me. I buy silver and gold as a wealth preservation. I have no intent on selling, but if I need something, I will sell some. or I'll trade some for maybe some work, or I'll trade some for some material or something like that. And as you realize that, you realize that silver is exactly what it should be. It's money, and you should treat it like money. Now, I got to be honest. I also stated I'm slowing down on my purchases right now. I have been. And the reason that is I ended up using a credit card, which a lot of people are against. I bought a bunch of silver at 33, more than I can afford. The credit card gave me a special deal, 0% for 1 year. And I said to myself, you know what? I'd rather get my purchase in now because I don't think it's going to go a whole lot lower now. And that was after we had seen that nice little dip and we started climbing. And I said, I can wait. I can wait. Why? Because I put in my big order with the credit card. I'm making slow at paying it back. I got a whole year to pay it back. There's no rush. And essentially, I kind of beat the jump, I guess you could say. And now that we have a higher price silver, and I'm going to say higher because it is higher now than it has been, that essentially I don't have to buy as much. I have a little bit of a time that I can back off from purchasing. Now, eventually I will pay off that credit card, probably well before the year comes, because I didn't put any order in for silver for the last 30 days. Now, do I pick up little stuff here and there if I come across it? I had a buddy of mine, he needed some money the other day. He's in my little trade group, and I said to him, he called me, he said, hey, you think you have any cash? I said, I got a little bit. I said, what are you trying to do? And he wanted to sell me some silver. And he said, I'll give it to you at spot. I just need the money right off for a personal emergency. And I said, yeah, of course. I said, do you want to just borrow against it and I'll just loan it to you and you give back to me like next week or whatever? He said, no, I'd rather just sell it to you at spot and then I'll pick it up down the road whenever I can again. Hoping it'll be cheaper, but not really sure either way. A lot of people think that this is a high right now, and it is a recent high. It's a 14-year high, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't go higher, because before it was a 14-year high, it was a 13-year high. Before it was a 13, it was a 12, an 11. The 11-year high made a lot of news. The 10-year high made a lot of news, and now at a 14-year high, it's making a lot of noise too. A lot of people are discussing it and wondering, is this the high? Is it going to have a big pullback? Now, here's the other thing I had said in this comment. There is no way that I think silver is a bad purchase under $50. And here's why. Everything over the last, we'll just say 10, 20 years, has skyrocketed in value. Silver is still $12 right this minute at the time of filming this video from its all-time high. Think of that, $12. That means that, what do I consider reasonable? Well, I think silver should at least be back to its all-time high. If everything else is an all-time high, you think about food prices, you think about cotton prices, you think about oil prices. I know someone might say, well, technically that's not all at all-time highs. Oil price is not technically at an all-time high right now. Obviously, during major previous wars, we've seen silver go up higher. Oil go up higher. But overall, prices are up. And I think silver should be a whole lot higher than this. Now, when silver gets to $50, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of people worrying, should I sell? Can I sell it for 50 and buy it back at 40 and essentially get 20% more silver in my stack? And that is a possibility, but do you really want to risk it? Personally, me, I don't want to risk it. That's why I wouldn't get rid of my stack, because what always seems to happen is people sometimes sell a little early. No one ever catches the top. I'll be honest, when I was huge into Dogecoin, I bought Dogecoin at a nickel, and everybody called me stupid. They thought it was the dumbest investment. And yes, I was buying crypto. And Dogecoin a nickel, it was advertised on the Super Bowl. I happened to see it during the Super Bowl. It had that nice jump from 2 cents to 5 cents. And I was like, oh, did I miss it? That's a huge jump. And I said, I'm going to buy into it. I like it. And everybody tells me, what a waste. It's a joke. It's not a real token. It's a joke. It's not real crypto. And I liked it. And I kept buying and buying and buying and buying. And when it went up and I made a sizable profit, selling out at maybe 20 cents, a lot of people were like, dude, why would you sell now? It's going to go to the moon. And unfortunately, I sold early. 20 cents, I sold early. Might have been a quarter I sold. And it kept going up. And I watched it every day, and I'm like, oh, my word, dude. And as it climbed, I said, if I had kept that money in, how much money would it be worth today? And I'd always be calculating it like I still had it. And eventually, it got all the way up to, I think, 80 cents, 72 cents maybe. And I had one friend call me up, and he was telling me that he had made it big. 100 grand, I would say that's an amazing gain. And I was talking to him about it, but he wouldn't sell. He said, I'm not selling. They're calling for $1, $2, $5. These numbers were outrageous. Everybody's saying you're a fool for selling. And then all of a sudden, it came down. And a lot of people missed the taking profits because they just thought it couldn't come down. And unfortunately, eventually we will see a pullback in silver. But the question is, by the time a pullback comes, is it going to be $50 and the pullback might come down to $45? I don't think we'll ever see sub $30 silver again. I really don't. People that are waiting for sub 30 now, I think that's just a pipe dream, just like sub 20 is a pipe dream. But I remember when we were in the 30s and people thought it was going to be back down in the 20s. I had one friend say he wasn't going to buy again until we were back down in the 20s. That never came. I don't know if he ever bought back in, and I just never heard from him on the Discord again. I don't know. I just know he refused, and he stuck to himself and said, I won't buy until it goes back under 20. Will it ever go back under 20? That's a big question. I don't think we'll see it under 20 valued against the current U.S. dollar. Now, do I think it could come down under 20 valued against a new Fed dollar instead of a U.S. dollar? Maybe it will be a Fed dollar or a Ameridollar or a world dollar or something like that. Then yeah, but that's a whole new currency. So obviously whatever currency they come out with next is going to be stronger than the dollar, or we wouldn't use it, because that's how they would convince people that this new currency is stronger than the U.S. dollar and you should be investing in this instead of that. And when that comes, at first, it will be stronger, I believe. But then they will do what they do every single time. They will slowly find a way to start watering it down. Whether that future currency is Bitcoin, whether it's Fed dollar back to gold, backed by gold and silver, or if it's just some digital central bank digital currency, or if it's just a new U.S. dollar. I mean, whatever it is, they're going to start out with some reason why this dollar is better than the rest. And I think once you realize that, okay, now that we see a currency that's stronger, is it going to stay stronger? Am I going to convert my silver and gold for the new currency? No, because they could water that down too. But ultimately, the prices of everything just continue to climb. And a lot of that has to do with the overprinting of money. It's not just the tariffs. It's not just the war. It's not just the demand for it. A lot of it plays out with it. They just keep printing money. And people understand the more money they print, the less that money is worth. And I shouldn't be really calling dollars money because it's not classified technically as money. We call it money because we haven't been trained the actual attributes of money. We've been just taught that money is dollars. But one of the attributes of money is it has to be a true store of wealth. And anything that they can print more and more of is not a store of wealth. It goes down the more they print. They don't have to hold your dollars. They don't have to see them. They don't have to do anything. No matter what you do with them, they can water it down without ever touching your money. You could hide it. I knew one guy that he was afraid that the dollar was like going to collapse, and so he buried cash in his backyard. And I got such a kick out of that. I got some pictures of it, and in my mind, I tried explaining it, but you can't stop someone from thinking what they already think. Even burying it in your backyard, it's still losing value. The value of it, by the time you dig out that $1,000 or $5,000, it's worth less. It buys you less stuff than it did 5 years ago when he buried it. And I just think some people just don't fully understand what's really going on with the debasement of the fiat dollars that we use today. Every single currency has gone through this. It always goes through this. And before it goes kaput or gets destroyed, it always makes that last push where they try to print as much as they can. They flood it into the market. Prices start taking off rapidly on everything. And then all of a sudden it crashes. And I really think we're in that phase right now where they know. What do you think this, I hate to say it, the big beautiful bill. I hate to use that because some of y'all know my political points or viewpoints. But I got to say, more money creation is just that. It's more devaluing of the dollar. The more money they create, the less it's worth. And it doesn't mean that I'm against anything or for anything, but I am going to position myself to be okay when this happens. And I think most of you are too, and that's why you're watching this video, because you recognize the value of the currency that we use today, the fiat dollars, is going down, and you realize that the value of gold and silver is going up. And you can see that when you look at the DXY, or you look at even something like the price of silver. And even when you see these huge drops that are paper sell-offs, they always seem to pop right back up. Why? Because the trajectory that silver is going is going to continue to rise in price. Now, this is not financial advice. Like I said, this is just my opinion, but it's what we're seeing. Yeah, we see these gradual pullbacks and then pushes higher. Gradual pullback and then push higher. And even if the pullback lasts a little while, like it did right here in the center, I mean, you know, you had it from October of 24, really all the way to March. When you think about it, we came down and then we got right back up to where we were and then got beat down again. A lot of people were devastated when this beat down happened and we were back down to $28. Yeah, $28. But look what it did after. Since then, since April 2025, look at the climb that it's made. It's pushed through. Every time they manipulate it down, it always seems to just bump even higher afterwards. And you can see that drop right here. This is that April drop. It happened fast, a couple days, and within a couple weeks, it was back almost up to where it was. And then it didn't take long before it even went even higher up. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up today's video here. I hope everybody hit that thumbs up button. I hope you checked out some of my other great videos if you enjoyed this one. Leave me a comment. Let me know, at what number will you sell? Me, I won't sell unless I physically need some fiat dollars to either pay for something, to remodel something, to buy something. I'm not going to sell gold or silver just to hold cash in the bank, or in my pocket, or under a mattress, or wherever people put cash. I'm going to hold my precious metals for the time it takes. Now, does that mean that I don't give up an ounce or two to someone periodically because I'm trying to help them get into it? Of course I do. But it's not necessarily something that I'm doing, you know, on a regular basis, trying to dump my precious metals anymore. I'm always trying to help people order stuff, get into it more. And I just think the more people that know about it, the more it's going to eventually gain traction, and the more people are going to want it and they're going to respect it. And the question is, are you going to be a part of that movement, or are you going to be on the sidelines just waiting? So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys again on T-Square Talk. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.